Back with Rubideri, we'll be chatting about, as you were saying, the creative sector and, in this time of COVID, how things are going to go forward, especially with the upcoming budget.
Because, this year is a very important one. This budget is definitely a very important one. So we have to pay very close attention, and we're going to see what the creative sector wants to be implemented going forward in this 2021 budget. That's supposed to be presented on October 5th. So we actually have Rubideri Victor on the line this morning. Good morning, Rubideri.
Hi, good morning, guys. Hi, good morning.
All right. So as we launch into our budget talks, we come into Rubideri in a bit. Let's just kick it off properly. All right. Good morning, Rubideri Victor. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, morning, guys. Hi, pleased to be here.
All right, so we are talking about budget 2021, and the creative sector is making some demands, and ACTT is making some demands on behalf of the creative sector. You want to enlighten us on what some of those demands are?
Well, first of all, I have to say that we appreciate that, this is a global crisis. There are literally tens of thousands of people unemployed all over the planet. This is something that's hitting all sectors, except probably the 1%, but it's hitting everybody pretty hard. But what we kind of have to know is that there's certain sectors that probably been hurt more than others. The creative sector, which depends on large parts in terms of live gatherings, indoor and outdoor live gatherings, which is not going to happen in a time of social distancing for at least probably the next year or so. So there are enormous swaths of the sector that haven't earned anything in the last 8 months. And there are two things coming up right now in the economy that we need to be looking out for. One is going to be the retail apocalypse that's going to happen at Christmas time. There are a lot of retail businesses, a lot of retail artists and those kinds of things who are still holding out hope that somehow Christmas is going to, you normally earn 50% of your income for the year at Christmas time. And they're hoping that things will hold out at Christmas and they will be able to tide the year. That's not going to happen. And so a lot of businesses that we're seeing still afloat are going to go down the hatch post-Christmas. That is followed in Trinidad by the Carnival period. Carnival, normally there's 55,000 visitors. Some studies say that we earn up to $650 million worth of foreign exchange during that period. There are literally tens of thousands of people that are employed in the Carnival, and the Carnival, a lot of people earn 65 to sometimes 85% of their income for the year during Carnival time. That's also not going to happen. So what we're watching at is the impoverishment of enormous swaths of people if the government does not intervene constructively and innovatively. It can't be business as usual with this sector. It's going to be very, 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 very serious what happens next. So what we are suggesting is that there are a couple of things that off the bat that cost nothing that could be engaged. There are policy and legislative things. One is the implementation of the 50% local content quotas for all broadcast media on television and radio. What that will automatically do, it costs nothing, and it is the only proven thing that has created broadcast industries, film, music, TV industries, anywhere outside of America in the world. We need to institute those things urgently, and that puts economies at the door of corporate advertising and stations themselves to be able to commission and to program existing content that exists from content holders, filmmakers, television, and musicians of all stripes. So that's one of the first things that we want to do. In terms of the budget, we know that the Ministry of Arts normally has the least budgetary subvention of all the ministries. What we're asking is that, and Ministry of Education and National Security have the largest. What we're asking is that between over $300 million be taken out from, migrated from Ministry of National Security into the creative industry ministries. As I said, normally Ministry of National Security's budget is 20 times the size of the Ministry of Arts budget, right? So 300 million versus, or to 500 million versus $10 billion. And given the track record of national security and all these things, we are saying that that money, that $300 million to $500 million, will be an anti-crime and crime preventative measures when put into the ministries of culture, ministries of trade, where film, music, and fashion are. Those things are not welfare. These are not for welfare-based programs, but these are for programs that are developmental programs that are going to be income earning, forex earning, and going to employ literally, at a minimum, the projects we have, about 25,000 people directly. And these are the kinds of things that needed to stimulate the economy. There's some capital programs that government had in its manifesto, which we want to agree with them and insist on. One is the creation of the the Carnival and Steel Band Museum at the Savannah. That is something that could immediately, is a construction-based project that could immediately put hundreds of people at work, and in the medium to long term, thousands of people at work. And it means at the end of 3 years, the country will have, at the end of the COVID pandemic, the country will have a destination, a tourism destination, that could be earning upwards of $100 million and more per year in income. And so these are some of the kinds of things. The two COVID-related projects that we want to do, which will employ vast swaths of the sector. One is based on TTT legacy person, Horace James. It's the Theatre to Film Conversion Program. We are saying that if government, Play of the Month.
Yeah.
If you're saying that if government creates a fund of $5 million, you can get $100,000 to teams of filmmakers, theater people, with matching funding from private sector and television companies to convert theater scripts and nascent screenplays into premium television program for streamable content. So at the end of that, for $5 million, you would have employed almost the entire theater and film fraternities with these 50 productions, which will have $200,000 with matching funding per production. At the end of which you would have enough stuff with the catalog of things to have almost like a streaming channel of Trinidad and Tobago content. Because we know that one of the things that has happened during the pandemic is that one of the success stories of the pandemic, or one of the things that comforted the planet, was the creative sector. It was streamable movies, television shows, galleries, theater online, books online. Those are the kinds of things, photography-based sites and those kinds of things, which have given the world succor at this point in time in history. The thing is that most of that content is owned by a very small set of
yeah, I was going to say that, Rubidiri, that they're privately owned. How do we ensure that what we ask the government for, or what you are asking the government for on behalf of this sector, how is it implemented in a real changeable way? Because we've seen lots of programs implemented over decades, and some of them reaping no benefits, even no matter how much of an investment was put in, no matter how much of a good idea it may have been, or consultations taking place with the sector. We still see a situation where the management of this money that's allocated to the sector, the management of the projects that this money has been allocated to, fall short. And the sector doesn't actually benefit, but a few people in the sector. So there's a 1% within the sector itself that would benefit from it, because they are part of every government program.
That has not happened with the projects that we have put forward. The projects that Artist Coalition and that are sector-based projects that have gone forward, there have been definitely paper trails that show that there have been sector benefits. So we are the ones who fought along with the film industry for the creation of a film industry, with the creation of grant programs, rebates, levies, and all those different kinds of things to be put in for the film program. The result of that has been probably about over 300 films have been shot in the last 8 to 9 years. A lot of award-winning stuff. It has contributed about over about $150 million to the GDP in Forex, with visiting films coming in, shooting stuff. There are literally dozens and dozens of new film companies, animation companies, and those kinds of things that now exist throughout the country, employing hundreds and hundreds of people, mostly young people. It is a success story. There's a straight paper trail, and that is what happens when government implements stuff the way that we ask, which is international best practice, and with things that are suited for the landscape. When government goes ahead with its kind of welfare-based kind of things and just pelts money at people, that's where the danger is. And none of the programs that we have in place that we are asking for require that. The things that we are asking for are all development-based, they're all international best practice, and they're clear paper trails about it. One of the things that we're saying is that if Carnival 2021 is not going to happen as we expect, so I know some stakeholders are asking for it to be postponed to June or sometime later on in the year. Okay. We are saying that we can say that possibly we are going to lose the 55,000 visitors, but if we do 2 days of streamable content that we curate properly, we can get 55 million eyes on Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival. We can get 300 Trinidad Carnivals.
I hear what you're saying, Rubadiri, but we're going to have to leave it there for now, unfortunately, because we are, we have to leave it there for now. We're going to continue ventilating this issue all morning, though, and we take your points. And actually, we took down a bunch of points from what you posted on social media as well, so we will continue to ventilate the issue for the rest of the morning. Thank you very much, Rubadiri Victor of the Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago, for joining us this morning and for sharing your points with regards to, the upcoming budget 2021.